Up to 2023 and including 2024, we've seen a whole bunch of cinema lenses released, especially when it comes to the budget kind, with anamorphics or spherical, zoom lenses. There are so many lenses out there that are budget and hold incredible value with image performance and build quality. Everything. They are just becoming so much more affordable and accessible for filmmakers that are, pretty much on a budget. And this is incredible for us consumers because you have Sirui with the Nightwalker series that have the 24, the 35, and the 55mm lenses. And now they've brought the 16 and the 75mm T1.2 to the lot. And these are incredible lenses, but they do have a couple of cons. But this is what we got to talk about. So let's get it. What's going on, my friends? I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Today, we're going to be checking out the 75 T1.2 and the 16mm T1.2 in the Nightwalker series with Super 35 sensors. And I've also previously got the 24, 35, and 55mm. And I do want to see how these ones slot in with the rest of the kit, but let's see what you actually get with these two. The Nightwalker series are designed for APS-C or Super 35 sensors and have a fast aperture of a T1.2 to a T16. They have a manual focus and aperture gearing, and the lens is a full metal design. They have a constant 67mm front filter thread throughout the whole set. They currently come in E, RF, micro four thirds, X, and L mounts, and depending on which mount you get will vary on the total weight of the lens. Now, I do have to mention from the start as well that these are sample copies, so they may vary a little bit, especially when it comes to like the tension on the aperture ring and the focus ring. So I really can't comment on, what they're actually going to be like in the full production model because, the 75mm is it's a little bit loose on the aperture ring and not as tight as the 16mm, but obviously these won't be the exact copies that you guys will get when these are actually released. So currently the early bird special, you can get about 15% off the current price, which gives you about $50 off if you do order it early. But obviously when the Indiegogo campaign finishes, this is when it will go back to normal price. My camera's sliding around. I just gotta wait till I get home. Because I'm trying to film this thing, but it's not quite working out. Here we go. That was an absolute fail. I tried to do this talking head piece while I was driving, but camera's not mounted to anything. It's literally sitting on my dash, so that was not a good idea. But what I'm trying to say is the 16mm on the Super 35 essentially is like a 24mm full frame equivalent. And when it comes to these kind of talking head pieces, I love that kind of focal length because I use the 24 GM f1.4 all the time for all my talking head pieces on social media platforms, YouTube and Instagram. And it's just great. It's just enough to get myself in frame, a little bit of the background, surroundings, but it's not too wide, like a full frame 16mm lens, which is kind of like a 10, 11, 12-ish sort of APS-C size lens. And that's crazy wide. And I wouldn't use that for my style of vlogging. I mean, handheld vlogging, a lot of people like that wide full frame 16, but the 24mm is perfectly fine for me because I'm not, holding the camera, even though, look, this is me literally touching the lens right now, and I'm still quite a distance away. You can still see quite a lot, which is great. But, for vlogging, not so much. It's a manual lens, so you wouldn't use it for vlogging anyway. But, potentially in the future, for wide establishing shots, they might bring out a full frame 16mm, which would end up being, like I said, like a 10 or 11mm APS-C lens. And with the 75mm on that telephoto end, potentially they might bring out something a little bit longer. Who knows? We'll soon find out. But the 16mm and 75mm are really great lenses for Super 35 sensors. Now, when it came to the original 24, 35, and 55, there were some color shift differences. In my kit, the 24mm was much warmer than the 35 and 55. And with the new ones, the 16mm is relatively neutral, just like the others. And the 75mm is a little bit warmer. Not as warm as the 24mm, but you can see a little bit of a color shift with that. So if you are on the job site, if you are doing some video work, just make sure you white balance when you change lenses. Otherwise, you will get into post-production. You will see there is a little bit of a color difference, and there isn't really much difference when it comes to just trying to adjust the tint and the color temperature. But it is best just to do the white balance on the job and try and get the right colors in camera first. But you won't notice too much of a difference, like I said, in your post-production. So we jump into the image quality, and this is the 16mm wide open at t1.2, and in the center it's very sharp, and even if you go out to the corners, it's relatively sharp. It's not crazy sharp like the center, but I mean, wow, this is pretty good already from a t1.2, and even if you do stop it down to t1.4, t2, t2.8, t4, the corners sharpen up obviously as you stop it down, but it's a very, very sharp lens overall. And it does seem like there is a little bit of barrel distortion when it comes to the 16mm lens, but nothing crazy. And if we do go over to the 75mm, it's pretty much the same story. Sharp in the center, a little bit soft in the corners, but if you do stop it down to t1.4, t2, t2.8, and t4, obviously it does sharpen up quite a lot. And contrast is pretty strong throughout the full t-stops, which is pretty amazing. And there does seem to be a little bit of pin cushioning when it comes to the distortion on the 75mm lens. Now, as you saw, the 16 and 75mm, they're very sharp lenses, and they're pretty much sharp from center all the way out to the edges. Obviously at t1.2, they're not perfectly sharp, which is great because you do want a little bit of character, especially when it comes out to the edges. But in the center, I mean, brilliant performance throughout the full range of these lenses. They are sharp lenses and they offer a little bit of character, but when it comes to character, the 75mm actually has the best character I've seen. I absolutely love it. The flaring on this thing, it looks really, really nice, especially when it comes to this gym scene. You can see that some of the lights are actually flaring quite nicely. It really is subjective. It comes down to, do you want perfectly clean lenses or do you want a little bit of character? These ones don't offer incredible amounts of character like the Vision Cine lens, but they offer just enough character for you to, get a little bit creative with your narrative work or filmmaking, whatever you're going to be filming. And character is something that a lot of people are really trying to strive for in today's filmmaking. And even something as simple as just putting a mist filter over the top can give you just a little bit more of a different mood. And when it comes to the bokeh ball shape with the 16mm, it's obviously spherical in the center, but when you get out to the corners, it does turn into a really strange shape, but it all is subjective with the bokeh shape anyway. And if we do go over to the 75mm, same again, spherical in the center. When it goes out to the corners, it does get to a bit of a cat eye shape there. Now, in my opinion, when it comes to the image quality of these, I love having fairly sharp lenses wide open, mainly for the fact that manual focusing can be really difficult, especially with, having such a small and shallow depth of field. If you do have lenses like the 7 Artisans Vision Cine lens, they were quite soft wide open and extremely difficult to focus with, especially even if you, dialed it down to 1.2 or 1.4. It's still really difficult because the focus peaking is kind of, really hard to see, but these ones I find perfectly fine when it comes to, using manual focus or follow focus systems. So I think one of the most important things about this kit is that they are pretty consistent when it comes to the size and weight. Now, obviously they only go from 16 all the way up to 75. So you're not getting extremely wide where you're going to have, larger elements in the wider lenses, but and they're not extremely telephoto. So it's only 75mm on an APS-C lens. But if you did go up to like 105 or 135, that's when the lenses will most likely be much larger. And I don't know if they're going to be releasing more lenses in that with the telephoto end and on the wider end, like a 12 or a 13mm. Not 100% sure if that's going to be coming, but it would be nice to see that. But overall, the ones that we do have right now are just perfect size, especially when it comes to having it on Super 35 sensors, because generally Super 35 sensor cameras are smaller and you do actually see a lot more smaller lenses and smaller gear when it comes to smaller sensor sizes. And in my opinion, they fit on the FX30 absolutely perfect, and that's what I've been using it with this whole video. Now, when it comes to chromatic aberration, we do see it in both the 16 and 75mm, but it's not crazy bad. If you do stop it down, that's obviously when most chromatic aberration starts to go away. And in the real world situations, you probably won't notice anything, especially when it comes to these high contrast sort of scenes. You should be seeing some chromatic aberrations on the edges, but I can't really see anything here, and it's perfectly fine in my opinion. Now, focus breathing, when it comes to the 16mm and 75mm, I mean, it's pretty good. I've tested all of these in the whole range, and there is a little bit of focus breathing with some of the others, but it's pretty consistent throughout the full range with the 16, the 24, the 35, the 55, and now the 75. And, you know, that is very good that there is low focus breathing, because some people really dislike focus breathing. For me, focus breathing doesn't really worry me too much. It doesn't, you know, distract me from the story. I'm quite used to it when it comes to filming with anamorphics. They generally have quite a lot of focus breathing. So for me, it doesn't really matter if these had focus breathing or not, but it is controlled quite well if you're someone that doesn't like focus breathing. So overall, these are great. I absolutely love the value of these, what you actually get, how much they are, the build quality, absolutely everything about them. I feel like, in my opinion, the Sirui Nightwalkers are the best manual focus Super 35 lenses that you can get for your money right now. Literally, I think these are the ones that you should be investing in, especially if you do want this sort of style when it comes to not too sharp, not too much character, just kind of that sweet spot, you know? I feel like if you do have a Super 35 sensor or an APS-C sensor, you know, these ones are the ones to go for. I absolutely love them, and I can't recommend them enough. I feel like if you do buy them, you're not going to be wasting your money. You're going to get some great value out of these, and you're going to be creating some incredible work. Anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Obviously, I'll put the link in the description below if you do check this one out. They are on Kickstarter right now if you are watching this, you know, before the actual release, and they obviously will go up in price after the Kickstarter has ended. But yeah, check them out. If you do already have the other kit, I absolutely recommend get these, because you want a wide and you want a telephoto. So yeah, check them out, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it.